Hey YouTube, thanks for being here. Today is Friday, June 12th, 2020, and this is the weekly question thread from r/Factorio on Reddit. If you like this sort of thing, make sure you hit that like, subscribe. If you have a question, leave a comment in the comment section below. All the links to everything I talk about today will be in the description. If you like this sort of thing, also, a good way to help me is to share this video. You can also come by live every Friday. We do this at twitch.tv/Clowntown. You can shoot me a follow. And we read this live and interact with the audience, kick around some points, and if you ever, especially if you're a new player and you have a question, feel free to ask me in the chat, and we'll unpack it and get your question answers. We do that. We do that every Friday night for new players, and just kind of talk about the state of Factorio. With that, let's get right to the video. All right, here we go. The weekly question thread from Factorio. First up, Cactusonpizza says, has anyone ever started a city block base from the start? I started with a main bus initially, but want to build a city block base later on. How viable is this from the start? I don't have trains unlocked yet, but I do have concrete. This is going to be hard because if you don't have trains yet, it's hard. Okay, the issue you're going to have is it's hard to reserve the space that you should and shouldn't build within without the technology to reserve the space, if you know what I mean. So one way to do it is to go into a game number 1, get a big blueprint, and then go to game number 2, bring that blueprint over and paste where you want to build. You could kind of do that, bridging from one game to another, if you really wanted to do it. Man, in Factorio, I gotta advise you here. In Factorio, the greatest thing about it, with the exceptions of landfill and a few other things, the general rule applies is if it can be done, it can be undone. So the fact that Factorio lets you pull up all of the things that you've just done and rebuild your entire base, change your model to something more efficient, more productive, more massive, higher yield, all of those sorts of things is one of the greatest things about it. Typically, what you end up having is a starter base, and then you move into the formal base. And what ends up happening is, say you have city blocks, and a lot of people, for example, I like to build left to right, and what I would do is I will build left, and I'll just go right, and then I might start the city blocks all around this starter base, start moving other pieces into the city blocks, and then fill it in as it disappears. So there's this person mentions that the base that builds the base. That's right. The starter base kind of. The initial base is kind of there to unlock all the tech and get up as much as you can, and then you can start unpacking pieces of it. It's not unlike the rail world and all of that sort of things. Ribbon world is the same way. You live and die on outposts, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't try and get this done as too early. But as soon as you do unlock rail, you'll need to make some decisions that you can make at that point are very important, such as left-hand drive or right-hand drive, such as length of train, and length and dimension of trains, how many locomotives, how many cargo wagons, and how many rails, and like which direction you're going to spread out in. I prefer going east-west, because my monitor is 16 by 9. I don't like going north-south because my monitor is not 9 by 16. And scrolling and being able to see left and right is more pleasing to my eye than it is to be able to see north-south. So you may need to probably make those decision points before you start laying down your city blocks. The other thing is once you set your right-hand drive, left-hand drive, and once you set your train length, train dimensions, then that should determine the size of your city block. And my recommendation is get your trains as big as possible. Like big trains are really good for UPS. Big trains are really good for moving massive amounts of material, and but also the bigger your train length, the bigger your city block has to be, because your stacker inside is going to have to house those and more. Things to think about as you build a city block. So thank you very much for that question. All right. My buddy Bluestone has uploaded a time lapse of this example that Cactusonpizza is actually talking about, and we'll talk about the starter base, and we'll see it evolve into the city blocks. So let's go ahead and start this video. So you see the radars go down, the eventual base evolves. He's got some walls up in here, got some solar. This is just a starter base, and you see the grid goes down. That's pretty important. And then there's some rails that go in, bunch of good solar. And look at this. Not afraid. He had all this solar, not afraid to move the solar, right? Don't be afraid to move stuff out. Just because you plant a big solar field there, do not be afraid to pick it up and move it somewhere else. This is good. Now, here in a second, you'll see that you'll see the grid go down. The grid still has not been placed. Presumably, he's making decisions about how long the trains will be, and the size of the city blocks, that sort of thing. Right-hand drive, left-hand drive, and there they go. So there's the video, or there's the video part of the video where the blocks go down. You can see the size is there, but it stops short of this little starter base section. But everything else, it's now defined, and then solar's moving and flexing as that rail goes down. So we'll keep going a little bit more. See, look, it goes out. Look, move some solar, put in first block, second block, third block, and you see pieces of this starting base will be kind of consumed and moved off here. It looks like there was nuclear over here. Looks like he's moving nuclear over there. Oh, that might be nuclear. No, that's processing. Where the power is. Nuclear moved up here. Oh, right, because you need a bunch of water for that. Yeah, he's taking sections of the base and moving them to rails. There's stackers in there where you can come in and out, but this starter base is still here, and likely this starter base is going to be here for a little bit, and you'll see chunks of it will be consumed and then moved off. Consumed and moved off, consumed, move off. Yeah, so you see everything around it is filled in with the city blocks. And then as you get stone, you can fill in either pass through here, or you can fill in all of this water and use that for land. But you see little cut-throughs as we're kind of just making provisions for this for the initial starter base. All right. See, look, there's some more landfill, and then he filled in all of that to make more city blocks. Just destroyed all that water. Maybe if you need to, you can save some little patches of water in here. And if, in fact, you have an oil deposit that's nearby, that might be handy to save some water so you can refine it on site. But this is a great example of a way to start off with a starter base and then expand from there on city blocks. So this is very, very typical on how a base will get started. Other things that he would put in here is, because it's such a long way off, I'd probably put in player access, so that if I'm in the starter base and I wanted to go visit my nuclear plant, I'm not just going to go to a place on the map. I put in a little stop where I could just kind of hit the button and go, and then go through, go from point A to point B. So thank you to Bluestone. This is a great example of how to develop a city block from containment all the way out to maturity. Cactusonpizza. Same question. One away. Anytime I start a new game, I end up in the same loop of looking up ratios, building my own design, not being satisfied, browse Factorio prints, download BP with a better way to design and use that. It sucks, to be honest, but I feel like such a waste of time to make my own designs when other people have mastered it and made way better ones. It's a fair point. For example, science, why even bother making my own designs when there's something awesome like that? And Cactusonpizza links something. I guess I enjoy building a base with other people's BP more than making my own things. which to some people is probably cheating. Okay. First off, rule number 1, play the game that you want to play. You paid the $20 or $30 for this game. It is your game. If you want to cheat, cheat. If you want to play it by the book, do that. If you want to figure it out by yourself, do that. If you want to use someone else's ideas, do that. If you want to do a hybrid of it, do that. To many, this is this is half the fun. This cycle of looking it up, doing some calculations, trying my own, tearing it down, iterate that iteration, finding someone else to do it, getting a different BP, learning. That is, to many players I know, that is super fun. That's the fun part about Factorio, right? To be fair, though, this game has been out for 6 years now. So many good and smart players have had lots of time to crank through different builds and present them as such. Feel free to use those or not use those. I don't want you to think to have other people guilt you into playing a game your way. That being said,
name's Ash.
What I would do... Hey, there's Shady.
Housewares.
One sec, Shady. That being said, I would say play with a buddy. Like, do a multiplayer with someone else. Do like a 2-3 person multiplayer and learn together. And that way, you're not maybe find someone with the same skill level you are, but that way you're kind of learning live instead of learning something that is kind of on an internet site. Man, that's how I learned most of mine. That's how I had most of my fun in Factorio, is playing with other people and kind of that iteration of, kind of, oh, what are you doing? And a little bit of arguing, a little bit of, but wait, what about this? And what about this? It's kind of almost like the scientific method. I highly recommend playing with another person and measuring your builds up with someone else. Maybe not an anonymous person on the internet, like in Factorio Prints, but someone either online through an online community or in Factorio Reddit or Factorio Discord or my Discord. Plenty of people in chat would love to play with you. That is a great piece of this game that I think you might be missing out on, because this loop that you're describing to me is what I've done, except instead of browsing Factorio Prints, it's me and a buddy working on a design together and us hammering out what's a better way to do it. To me, that's a piece of Factorio and its life cycle that I really value. So I would highly recommend multiplayer games. Zaneprotoss says, is peaceful the default typical way to play Factorio? I've completed the game only once, and it was on peaceful. I've started a regular game recently, and the locals are pretty hard to deal with. Yes. Any general tips for dealing with them? Great question. Yes, the biters are a force to deal with. It just gives you something else to deal with in this space. One of the other replies here said something very brilliant. He said, "The biters are not a combat problem; they're a production problem." It's kind of right, man. You have to tech up differently to pay so that you're paying attention to the biters. Like you need bullet speeds and lasers and all kinds of neat little weapons out there. Couple things I will recommend is number one, walls. You need to get a good use of walls and understand how to use walls. Very, very helpful. Number two, flame turrets are overpowered, or maybe just powered, and fire beats biters, man. So if you can use a combination of walls and maybe some dragon teeth torturous path walls to defend against the biters while the turrets shoot fire over them, that is a great defense against biters. 3, taking it to offense. Do not sleep on grenades. Grenades are really great. And also poison capsules to go destroy bases. One other way, if you watch the biter battles that have happened, one other way to take out tons and tons of biters is do not be afraid to armor yourself up, your player character up. Run into the biters with some fish, healing yourself. Get the biters around you and throw grenades at your feet. Grenades do way more damage to biters than they do players. So that is a very common tactic against medium, small and medium biters. So in the early stages, grenades are pretty great to kill massive amounts of biters with a human player character. Just make sure you armor up before you do it. Those are some great techniques to do it, but make sure also you're automating all the things that you need to do, because ammunition over time and turrets over time, they take processing time. So you have to automate those if you're going to overcome the biters. Also don't be afraid to make a push into an area, like do make an offensive push and carve a walled area around a base to go take some resources away from the biters, push into their nests and take them out. But make sure that you have a purpose in mind when you push into biters, because as you kill their nests, that puts upward pressure on their evolution. Biter evolution is pushed upward by 3 things. Number 1, pollution from your factory. That's probably the greatest one. Number 2, killing their nests also bumps their evolution up. And number 3, time. Time is a pretty big fact. Also, if you just leave them alone, they're going to evolve over time. It's going to be slower than the other 2, but they will just slowly evolve over time, even if you don't put one piece of pollution on them. But here's the thing: the default typical way to play Factorio, and the root answer to your question is the default / typical way to play Factorio is how you want to play it. Use whatever mods you want. Use biters, don't use biters. It's your game. You paid the money. Play it your way. Great question. Holy shit, I didn't record any of that. MarioMashup says, if all trains arrive at a T intersection at the same time, how does the game decide which train goes first? Is it based on block size, train inertia, etc.? I think that they scan in advance. It has to do with, I want to say, I don't think it's ever a tie. Or it'd be too close to call as a tie, and it might just go simple. The one to the north is the one that they check, but they reserve well in advance because they have to time the braking. If 2 trains are at full speed coming to an intersection, that has to time it to where if it's going to prioritize one of them. So the faster a train goes, the more in advance it needs to reserve the block, so that train A can slow down to come to a full complete stop before train B crosses in front of it. So it also speed has a factor in it, and it really just depends on which one which one it just gets there first. And if I think it's a rare case that one of them gets there before the other one. But in the event they tie, it's probably something as simple as the north one, or or maybe it's as simple as the ID of the train, the first one. First one to reserve the block, or if 2 try to reserve it on the exact same tick, it probably takes the locomotive ID, the lowest locomotive ID, or something bizarre like that. But I would say that exact ties are super, super rare because of the way it reserves blocks way in advance, based on speed, and all of that dynamic business. That's way more rare than you'd think. Megas Nikator. On my first playthrough and completely blind, all right? I've launched loads of robots, and it's crashed my power network completely. Yep, so I need to move away from Steam. Yep, maybe. Or just more Steam. Do I need to connect solar powers to accumulators directly? Oh, or via just cables. So I could have separate patch of accumulators and separate patch to accumulators versus solar panels? Yes. Okay. Great questions. Solar panels and accumulators do not need to be tied together by connectors. If you hover over any power source, or a power pole, maybe either a medium power pole, large power pole, or substation, they have a range, an effective range. Just put the accumulator or the panel anywhere in that, and it's connected. Same way that medium power pole gives power to your assemblers and your miners and your inserters. It will pull power from your solar panels and accumulators. So don't worry about tying them all together. And in answer to your question, you can, in fact, many people do. They have a massive pile of accumulators over here and a massive pile of solar over here. And as long as they're connected by the same line of power poles and in the same effective area as power connectors, like medium power poles, that sort of thing, you're all good. So yeah, you can absolutely do it. Also, you can find the ratio, a sweet spot of ratio on the wiki of solar panels to accumulators, and I would err on the side of having more accumulators in the network than solar panels. That way you can last a little bit longer through the night, especially if you have a dip in power because of something such as a laser. Lasers drain power very quickly. But there you go. Also, don't sleep on nuclear. It's a way to give yourself a big jump in power pretty quickly. It does take some lots of science to unlock that power, that upper end. It takes a little bit also to build up the Covrex process to get your first few bits of U-235. Once you do that, though, man, you can get rolling. You get a lot of power very quickly. It's a big step change to get nuclear. So put some time into that. There's lots of good tutorials out there on nuclear. Go check out one of them. But don't sleep on don't sleep on nuclear. In fact, it's probably very wise to diversify your power profile. Some steam may be powered by solid fuel instead of coal. Also a balance of solar and accumulators to account for the big swings in something like laser, and then nuclear for a mainstay of several gigawatts of power all at once. But good question. Autumn in Winter says, with each speed upgrade, do robots also fly a little farther, or do they always go the same distance, just faster? The latter. The wiki page will say that the wiki page will tell you that there's a note there that says robots do not fly farther, significantly farther. I think their wording is, let's actually check that. They just go faster. Here it is. Players should note that the worker robot speed does not significantly increase the distance robots of either type before needing recharge. So it probably not so that you could tell. Your supposition in the question is more correct. They go the same distance, just faster. Right? Kittelsen says, do inserters compress a belt now? I remember reading earlier that you should drop items onto a single belt that leads to a main belt in order to fill a whole belt earlier. I don't know if this has changed or not. Well, let's give it a try. Question is, can inserters fully compress a belt? So what I've got here is just a bunch of chests with some green circuits, and we're going to see. Does that look like a compressed belt to you guys? Almost. Let's add one more. There you go. I'd say we have a winner. All right. Let's do it with fast inserters. Going to take a little bit more. But can they fully compress a belt? I'd say we have a winner. The answer is yes. Yes, they can. So let's go back to the question. Do inserters compress a belt now? Remember reading earlier, they should drop dry items onto a single belt and then do it. Not anymore. They can compress a belt now, and that's our object lesson. The mod that I used in that in the other scene is called Creative Mod. I'll link that in the description below. It's very, very useful for trying out scenarios like this, just to see if your theories work in your main game. It's just a little mod that lets you bring infinite amount of stuff, matter voids, things like that. And you can try it with any kind of belt you want, but it does work. Great question. How does one get started choosing mods? I get this question a lot. I started playing this game a few weeks ago and progressed pretty quickly to end game, then Mega Base. Now I'm interested in starting a new game with mods, but I'm not sure where to start. I checked out the mod list in the sidebar, but the Factorio mod site doesn't give me a good place to start. I've seen a bunch of mentions with sub about Bob and Angels, but they seem to have a dozen plus mods available. What do you like best? What are the most common recommendations for beginning mods? So a couple weeks ago, Admiralzogbag, thanks for the question. A couple weeks ago, I did a post on I guess you would say complete conversion mods that you can go check out. I'll link that for you and the timestamp. It is which mods are best, and I had a whole breakdown of them. Those types of mods, starting with Factorio Extended, Crashtorio, Bobs and Angels, Pyanodons. Those are complete overhaul type of mods. Those are very, very good. Then there's kind of another category of quality of life mods. And there is, Paco links these, and we're going to talk about those here in a second. Let's just open this. Quality of life mods are little features that you can turn on and off, such as, this is his list. Things like auto trash I've not used. Let's see. I'll comment on a couple of these. Enhanced map colors. Even distribution lets you distribute items from your inventory into containers evenly, such as ammo into turrets, right? Some of these are old, right? Factorissimo Factory Planner lets you do some math on your stuff. I've used that before. Haven't used it in a while. Many of these I haven't used in a while. Let's see. Santa's stuff. Bottleneck. You got to be careful with bottleneck. That one will put up a light on the material that are on an assembler that shows whether an assembler is running or not. So if you have a line of 12 of them and 7 of them have green and the other ones are red, that means the material's not getting down to the other ones. Something like that. You got to be careful though, because that uses UPS, lots of UPS to turn those on and off. So do be careful with some of these; they may bog you down. LTN is pretty helpful for getting some details in your trains. To-do list I've used before. That's a decent one if you just have stuff that you want to do and you don't want to write down a piece of paper, go to Notepad. It's an in-game checkbox type of thing. Yeah, some of these are good. There's another one that's not on this list that I can think of is Squeak Through, that lets you move between something like solar panels in vanilla solar panels that are put together. You can't walk between them, but in Squeak Through lets you squeak between them. Squeak Through. Picker Dollies is the one that lets you shove things if they're off by a space, like chests. So yeah, so if I've put down 2 chests and now they're both full and I want to move one over, I have to basically pick up everything and move it over. But Picker Dollies apparently allows you to just shove the whole thing over without picking up all the inventory and moving them. That's pretty neat. Anyway, lots of good quality of life ones out there. The overhaul mods are a little bit more daunting to pick up and go, but a lot of them are very rewarding. The one that is raging through everywhere right now that's really, really well done is Factorio 2. That's a pretty good first step. The 8 Factorio extended modules or mods from Jimmy John 711. Those are really good too, but I'll link that video to step through the other examples of the overhaul mods. Good question, Admiralzogbag. New to the game here. I can't change my character's appearance, but here are there mods for it? Yes. Assuming both players have mod, would it show the other players? Yes, because you have to log into the same server, and the server makes you sync mods. I have a friend who refuses to play the game if she can't play a female character. I think she'd love this game, knowing her. Okay. Good news is there's a girl character mod. I don't know that the Factorio player character is gender specific. It's just a human in a suit, so you can't really tell. I mean, if okay, humanity puts people in the giant spacewalk suits, and if you're looking at people walking around the space shuttle, or they're doing a spacewalk outside, their blast shield is down, and you can't see their faces, and the suit is so bulky. It's just humanity. It's neither male nor female. It's just an astronaut doing a spacewalk. To me, that's what I feel. The same thing here. It's just a humanoid building a bunch of stuff. So I think even Factorio doesn't specify a gender here. But if you really want one with a little bit more traditional female characteristics, there is one out there that has a girl character, a specific girl character. The other one is you can just change your color slash color space, and then there's the RGB values, or slash color space red, or space pink, or space white, or all of that business. Oh yeah, chat just reminded. This says there's even an argument to be made that the Factorio player is a humanoid robot, like maybe an android. So, like, you know, gender is not even a thing to robots, right? It's just a thing, right? Who knows? And you're controlling a robot, but anyway. That's a thing too, but I think the merits of the game go beyond confines of gender and all of that. The game is just brilliant as it is, and they stay away from all of that sort of stuff, which is they're just about making a great game, not necessarily getting into those types of issues. But yeah, if it really means that much to you, there's mods, or write a mod that makes it. The code is right there for you. There's graphics you can put in. That'd be excellent if this one's not to your liking. But good job, Arkindal, to making the game available to everybody. Got the game recently and loving it. I'm trying to set up a nice compact module for making red circuits, but it keeps jamming up. Here's what I have at the moment. Over time, it ends up the assembly machines run out of one or more resources. Okay. Let's look at this. Let's do a quick redux on this. Here we go. Oh, hey. Okay. I have your diagnosis here. Hailthorn. I'm going to blow your mind. What I want you to consider is this is likely, this and engines are probably your first major assembly that has 3 components. So before, you could just mix 2 components and put them on the same belt, no big deal, one on each side. This and engines and a few other things are some of your first early game experiences where you need 3 things. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna blow your mind here without spoiling it. Belt number 1, belt number 2, red inserter, blue inserter. I think what you need here is some experience with a red inserter, a long inserter that can reach back to a belt behind the other belt. Because these, I think you're going to get jammed up with all of this. Do not be afraid of those long inserters. I think long inserters are really what you're missing here. Otherwise, yeah. Split these up into belt 1 and belt 2, and you'll be good to go. Mix in that red inserter. Curbstompery. No question. Just wanted to say I bought the game last night, spent 3 hours playing, and I'm hooked. There's no better feeling buying a new game, discovering its Reddit. Yes. Then sorting by top all time, just taking on, wow, I've missed out on a lot. Well, welcome. You've got in at a great time. It's pre 1.0. You can still say you're on the early early access to this game. Well done. Welcome. Jump in at your own pace. Play with others. Do whatever makes you happy with this game. That's kind of the theme of today's question thread. Is play your own way. Play what makes you happy. Factorio is a gift that has many gifts inside it. You know, the Russian dolls where you open one, you go, oh, look here, there's more. The more you unpack Factorio, the more there is to enjoy. So do it your way, and happy exploration. Good to have you in the community. I'm not a robot. That's exactly something a robot would say, mister. How do I deal with large biter nests? There's one with 20 bases right next to where I need to expand on top of oil fields I need for blue science. All right. Couple things. Do set up some walls and some turrets, because some flame turrets, backed with covered by some gun turrets. As soon as you shoot one of those biters, they're all going to come at you, so you need to be prepared for a big wave. Grenades, poison capsules. Poison capsules murder worms big time, and grenades murder the nests. So don't be afraid to get after it. What I would try and do is make a wall with some dragon teeth, poke the nest, run back, let them impale. Save the game first. Let them impale themselves on your wall of flame turrets, and then go once the nest is now dwindled of all its troops, then go systematically try and take out nests here and there. If you're late game already, get a Mark II suit, power up your suit with PLDs, and just go murder some face. PLDs are great. Tanks are great. You got lots of tools available, but don't sleep on poison capsules and grenades. Nut76 says, stupid question. I'll be the judge of that, mister. I'm trying to belt ammo to my turrets. Okay. I have half a belt of ammo and half a belt of coal for my fuel burner inserters. They are running out of fuel. Can anyone tell me why? Okay. If the belt is going too... Okay, burner inserters are slow. So, anything above a yellow belt, reds and blues, may buzz it by too fast, and so the inserter might go and try and pick it up and use its existing power to try and pick up a piece of coal going too fast, right? So if it's going too fast, the burner inserter is not going to be able to grab it. It's going to need the belt to stop, and then you may burn out... the burner inserter may burn its power up trying to pull that piece of coal. My recommendation is use yellow inserters for loading up your turrets. Burner inserters have one very good specific use case, and that is loading up boilers with oil-based or coal-based fuel on a yellow belt. Don't put them on a yellow belt. The burner inserters fizzle out pretty quickly in the early game. Convert it all to yellow, and you'll probably just be fine. Also, use the other half of that belt or whatever you're trying to do on that belt. Use that for ammo. Like, load that belt down with ammo because you're going to use up a bunch of it. Don't worry about that. Get that coal off the belt. Use that other half of belt for ammo. SMTWRFS52. Ribbon World and my need is power. My height is quite generous, but still have more effective ways to clear biters and lay down still need more effective ways to clear biters and lay down solar panels for my mega base. Taking too long to clear off biters and with panels accumulators, make a run to clear some, but I'll get 200 to 500 megawatt increase is barely more than a train outpost. Can you do nuclear? Mining productivity is level 8. Good. More steam to push it over. Don't hinge all your bets on just solar panels. Solar panels is good. It's good for end game, but it's good for middle game but on a ribbon world where you're constrained with real estate. To your point, your power needs are advancing your real estate claims, right? Is what I'm getting from your post. So think about nuclear has a pretty big real estate need, but it's kind of one time. So think about putting down a pretty thin nuclear type of thing because you can put a good-sized nuclear power plant in a pretty compact space. So I would get schooled up on nuclear and don't put all your chips into the basket labeled solar, at least not early on, until you've cleared out as much as you can and you've maintained a technology superiority over the biters to where you can just go clear them out at a time of your choosing any time, and then you can convert over to solar. But look into nuclear because that's a lot of power in a small space. TheSwitchBlade says, I'm about 10 hours trying to build my first entirely train-based decentralized factory. Good. All the rails I've placed are blueprints from Brian's trains. I do not know that. I realized I did not chunk align my rails. How screwed am I? Do I need to start over? Somehow can I chunk aligning now? You can. Your blueprints have to be such that you can rotate them and attach them at any given rail. But unless you're really OCD, just worry about your main chunk, and you can kind of redo that. If it's a decentralized factory, I guess you're doing modules. We just did at the top of the program a time-lapse video of how that works. Start outside. My advice for you is start outside your world and chunkily appropriate that, and then slowly come in and overwrite your starting base. Like find one piece outside your starting base and say, this is true north, and then index everything off of that. And then at some point, if you're having a trained decentralized factory, overwrite your first starting base at some point. So do you need to start over and start chunk aligning now? No, you don't have to, because anything that can be done can be undone. So, but work in stages. At the top of this video is the best, kind of the best way to do that, right? Childofsol says, I'm currently running on version 17, but have been wanting to upgrade to 18. Are there recipe changes or anything else that could cause issues? Disregarding mod compatibility, that's a big one. Good. I'm glad you acknowledge that. I only have a few QoL improvements anyway, and I'm not married to them. Okay. Number one is mods. Mods will break when you go from 17 to 18. Number two, no recipe changes, but offshore pumps have moved. They've moved from an on-land entity to an actual. You need some water squares in the water squares available too now. So your existing ones will still run, but you won't be able to place new ones. But otherwise, all of the science changes and recipe changes, they're all done. There's likely not going to be any of those. Those all went in 17.60. So if you're on stable 17, which is 17.60 something, you're good. Where they put sulfur into blue science, all of those types of things. Those are some really, really good. 79, there you go. 1779 is a stable. All of those recipes are done forever. 18 has been focused on performance and high-res graphics and bug fixes and preparing for end game. No more recipe changes. And finally, Muddy Coffee says, how do I tell how much science I'm producing? Great question. Hit the P button is the default shortcut for the production window. Then you can hit that the little magnifying glass to search and search for the word pack, P-A-C-K, and that will pull up all of the science packs. And then look at about an hour. You can see the production and consumption. And consumption is really what you want to be doing and want to be looking at, because if you have, basically science is a recipe, at least in-game science, is it's a six-person, or it's a six-component recipe. So if you're limited on one, then that's your science rate. You have to have all six of them producing at a certain rate in order to claim I'm running at X amount of science, SPM, science per minute. And if you can run it at about an hour at a steady rate, then that's your jam. That's probably where you want to go. To answer your question, this is what it would look like. This is the consumption graph. You hit P, you pull up your consumption, and it'll look something like this. This is a deal of a 12. This is a picture of a 12K science per minute, but it is based on whatever your lowest one is. This is one of the gigabases I did. But this is what it'll look like. I just took a quick shot. So this one I would say is 12K science a minute, something like that, and that's an hour time. Check out hit the P button, search for the word pack, look at the consumption window, and there's your science per hour. All right, and really finally, last question. Fricktorio. Will there be a new trailer for 1.0 or some other ways to promote Factorio's release? Yes! I will be off all week, and we're absolutely going to play the crap out of Factorio. I'm going to help promote it, and it's going to be a great weekend. It says, to regards to your question, new trailer? Yes, one of the things that the FFF 349 did say is that there will be a new trailer for Factorio. In fact, the screen looks like this. So this is one of their splash pages. I would imagine something crazy like this will happen. He goes on to say, currently I think that most new players come from other players. That's fine by me. Many people that might be interested don't know exists are missing out on a great experience. I agree, Factorio. Factorio is a great, a really great experience, and I'm super happy that I got involved early access. I think it was version 13. So this is really great that we're going to launch this. We're going to have so many new players come in. And it's going to be launched on Steam. Hopefully, it'll get some front page action. It's a great game to promote. So, one of the greatest things, one of the greatest ways that games get proliferated is just as you said, through word of mouth. And friend A gets a game and plays it and enjoys it, and then says, "Hey friend B, would you like to join me? So we can make a friend A, friend B base," and they go, "Yes, we can," and then you play together. Very, very good interactions, and that's most of my good experiences in Factorio are from all the multiplayer action that I've done. So, yep, new trailer, and the game will be basically complete on in about 6 weeks. So it's going to be great. 62 days from now, not 6 weeks, 62 days. So buckle up. It's going to be great. All right. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this sort of thing, hit that like and subscribe. If you have a question, you can reply to me on Reddit. You can reply to me down in the comments section. You can join us every Friday night. We do this. We unpack this for new players, and chat is involved. We help out with other people's questions and just kind of unpack issues live of people that have questions. And if I don't know the answer, chances are someone in chat has the answer. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for all the support, and we'll see you next time.